Welcome to another edition of Sunday Sundown Social. Tonight, meet Alex Sipiagin. He's a Russian-born jazz trumpeter and composer, and he's played with the likes of Dave Sanborn, Michael Brecker on award-winning Grammy albums. He himself has some 20 recordings to his name. Tonight, he's going to tell us more about recording an album during a pandemic and more about his own musical journey. I'm Michelle Martin, coming to you live from Maduro, the home of some of Singapore's greatest jazz performances, and streaming live to you because of the good people at the National Arts Council and their digital presentation grant. It's part of their #SG Culture Anywhere initiative. Really great to have you here with us. We've got some wonderful musicians joining us, so let's take it away. Chok Karong on piano and Wong Min So on drums. Ladies and gentlemen, Alex Sipiagin. Hey, if you've just joined us, welcome to Sunday Sundown Social. I'm Michelle Martin, sitting next to Alex Sipiagin. That was a wonderful set. How do you feel after that first set? Your first back in Maduro after, 9 months?
Well, it was my last gig in general. 9 months ago, with the same musicians I'm playing tonight. It feels great.
Yeah,
Nice to be back. It's incredible place, incredible sound, and thanks so much for having me, and thanks Peter, thanks Maduro.
Well, it's great to meet you. And I wonder if we can start. I like to start with origin stories. So you were born in Russia, and I understand you were 12 when you first started playing the trumpet. But when was it? Can you take us to that moment when you think, this is my instrument? This is what I want to play.
Yeah, I was born in Russia, in Yaroslavl. It's the name of my town. And age 12, like any school students, we have after school program, and I joined after school orchestra, children orchestra. It was kind of an accident. We just opened the door, orchestra. Well, nice, maybe I'll play drums. But I was so lucky. I met most amazing, incredible teacher who looked at my lips and said, that's trumpet. So basically he taught me how to play first note on trumpet, and that's it. Next day I want to come back. So basically from age 12 my life was changed for first time.
Fantastic. Thank goodness for that teacher. But I think people might be wondering as they watch us here in Maduro, this beautiful setting set in the hill in Harding Lane. What is a Russian-born trumpeter doing here in Singapore? How did that happen?
Well, as any jazz musicians, it doesn't matter where you're from, Russia or any other country. Once you reach certain level, you start travel a lot, and then you travel, and then you have a preference. Okay, I like to travel to Asia. Then you have more preference. Oh, Singapore is the best place in Asia, so I want to come back here as much as I can. And I love this place so much. I even met my wife here. So that's it's a long story. First time I come here, actually I play with Kerong, and when Kerong invite me to do a beautiful project, we play some music, and musicianship was on such a high level, so I always want to come back. And since that time I've been in Singapore many times, and I enjoy it so much.
So you came for music, but you stayed for love.
I stayed for love.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. All right, speaking about love, can you tell me about that song? People might not realize that you were initially training to be a classical trumpeter, but then something happened and you moved to jazz. Was there a song that precipitated that?
Yeah, that's like I mentioned, my life was changed for the first time when I introduced myself to trumpet. Second big change, it was when I heard jazz, and specifically I heard this one song, Sidewinder, by Lee Morgan. Lee Morgan is one of the biggest legend of 60s and 70s, and I heard the song and my life changed. It's very hard to describe what I felt. I was 16 at the moment, and I started studying jazz from then.
Because the rhythms of jazz are completely different from what you're doing in classical music, right? So why do you think this is what I want to do? What was it about jazz that excited you?
Yeah, basically yes or no. It's different, but it's similar at the same time. I don't know. I grew up in Soviet Union when everything was pretty much restricted. I don't know, maybe this song brought some freshness, something different which I never heard before. And just one more time to remind, it's Sidewinder. This song have all possible elements of swing, movement, dance, breeze. It's such a cool song which has everything. That's I was blown away. I mean, when I heard the song, I started imitate immediately. I wanna be like him, like Lee Morgan, little bit.
Amazing.
I'm still
So
learning, you know.
I've heard in interviews you talk about a New York sound,
Mm.
right? And you've said to me before that travel is an important part of what a jazz musician does. I wonder if you can tell us a little bit about how living or traveling in different places has influenced your sound, particularly maybe living in New York. I know you hold a professorship at New York University.
Mhm. Yeah. Being in New York is very special, and especially for jazz musicians, and because of level is so high, because so many different styles and varieties of jazz, so many jazz clubs, so many things happen at the same time. So it's always a competition and level going higher and higher. I'm talking about normal life, not right now, you know, before COVID, and by listening to various musicians, you're growing up, and that's why you can immediately separate New York sound from any other sound. And I'm not saying you have to live in New York to have New York sound. You have to visit New York and maybe study there for some moments. You have to communicate with some heavy New York musicians from older generation, like let's say Kenny Barron, Billy Hart, and Michael Brecker. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore, but all those guys bring your sound on the next level, and then you spread the sound around the world.
Well, let's speak a little about the late Michael Brecker, because you played on his Grammy Award-winning album, and you've collaborated with him quite a bit in your life. What has he taught you? I mean, he's an icon. What has he brought to your music?
Well, first of all, he was a genius of his instrument. It's obviously, and everybody knows this. And he's the only musician. If you open Facebook, if I open my Facebook, I see some posts in memory of Michael Brecker every day, and he's not with us for 13 years already, and that's how much everybody's still following him, still loves him. So I was really lucky to play with him for about 4 or 5 years altogether in different configurations. And our album called White Angles, it's a little bit weird setting. It's called Quintette, a couple of strings, few woodwinds, one trumpet, but also I collaborated with him in the quintet and in sextet, and he taught me how to appreciate every note. Actually, he didn't taught me at all. I just listened to him, staying next to him, and I listened to him practice and learn from him how to respect every note. And he was a very spiritual person, very shy, very humble.
Wonderful. So we're going to hear more from Alex Sipiagin in just a while, but for now it's time to sit back and enjoy more wonderful jazz trumpeting. I'm Michelle Martin. I'll be back with you in just a bit. Hey, welcome back to Sunday Sundown Social. I'm Michelle Martin, sitting next to Alex Sipiagin, who you just heard. Another terrific set. I wanna understand a little bit about what the pandemic has meant for you as a musician.
Well, it was very challenging, interesting times. You know, every day I had no idea what to expect. You know, but at the same time, on the end of the day, that was my goal every day. End of the day, I have to accomplish something. I have to come up, I have to find some idea for new composition, or I have to teach my students something new. It's very easy to get lazy and depressed. I mean, that's what I hear from a lot of friends. But if you keep yourself, you can find inspiration from anything, you know. You can find inspiration from eating good food and just even during the quarantine, look in the window and people running. And this little thing bring you inspiration for whole day. You start practicing. You cannot practice without inspiration, you know. And at the end of the day, you always come up with something interesting. It could be little sketch of composition, could be whole composition, could be, you know. So day by day, you learn how to survive, and of course, sharing new ideas with your friends, thanks to internet and FaceTime and stuff like that. You know, by third month of pandemic, you get used to it, and you're pretending it's gonna happen. Everything's gonna be finished tomorrow or maybe next week. So you're kind of ready to go to normal world again. So
Sounds like you had to motivate yourself to keep going with
absolutely.
those daily goals.
You have to find inspiration, you know, you have to work on it. Sometimes it's hard,
Yeah.
but for example, I'm going for a run pretty much every day. That's really that's really start me rolling, and I can practice. I can breathe normal.
I want to touch on that physicality in just a bit, the need to be in shape to make your art, I suppose, soar. But first, what do you tell your students about growing as a trumpeter?
Well, it's
Do you practice every day still?
I have to practice every day because trumpet is such a physical instrument. Once you miss a couple of days, you can notice huge difference. If you miss like a week, everybody can notice huge difference. It's such a instrument, it's a set of muscles which should work together with your fingers, with your brain. If you're missing something, if you do some mistakes, everything can collapse. So you have to. That's what I teach my students. I develop a routine for each individual students because everybody have different, physicality. Everybody built differently. Everybody mentally different. So we work separately on step by step.
So some students might be watching and thinking, do I have to practice every day? Because a lot of students don't like to have to practice. And you say, don't do it if you don't want to, right?
I would never say don't do. And if they don't practice, they're not welcome to my lessons. That's the first question I ask you.
You expect them to.
Of course, you should be well prepared. You should be warmed up and ready to go to next level. Otherwise, what's the point?
But didn't you mention to me off air that it was important that people not force themselves to
Absolutely.
practice?
That's what I'm talking about. Inspiration. You have to inspire yourself before you practice. You cannot force yourself. If you hate your trumpet, if you hate your sound, you cannot force yourself. You gotta find a way to like what you do. It's possible.
Many students will be listening to your albums and trying to imitate you as they try to build their own sound. Do you have some tips on how they can find their own voice?
I would definitely recommend to all my students to revisit traditions as much as possible, which is bebop. In my case, it was Lee Morgan, Sidewinder, my first song, and I still listen to this whenever I have any questions about my approach, about music I play. I always go back to tradition, and I always find an answer. I always go back to my bebop lines, which I transcribed 30 years ago, and I remember those lines so well. So each day they transforming and growing into something else, and I always find an answer. That's a number one rule to my students, to myself. Go back to traditions, go back to classics of jazz, to bebop lines, go back to metronome. If you're stuck somewhere, you have no answer, always go back to tradition.
I always find it amazing as a spectator of a jazz performance how, as musicians, you set the atmosphere, you set the mood. But what do you have to do internally to be able to communicate that mood? Well,
first of all, of course, usually we choose musicians we like to play with. The same, I choose my musicians who I like to record with. And because of that, when I write in composition, I write in them for certain voice already, so I can hear the voice on the back of my head. And once we find each other, once we trust each other, it's very easy to communicate, and it's very easy to pass ideas, and we understand everyone very quickly. We interchange. We never know what's gonna come next. We have respect to each other and try to collectively build something.
Tell us a little bit about the musicians that you're playing with tonight.
It's incredible musicians. Earlier we talk about New York sound. That's it. Kerong and Wayne represent absolutely, high level of jazz musicians, and
you've known Kerong for some time, and he was part of the reason why you came here to Singapore?
My first visit to Singapore was because of Kerong. Yeah, he invited me to do the project, and
Still a friend. That's great. Yeah.
Yes. And the last time I was in Singapore before this trip, I was playing with Kerong here in Maduro.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So another thing that's enduring in your life, I understand, is running. So we were talking a little bit about how you are your instrument, right? If you're a trumpeter. So do you run because it's a sport that connects with your breath, and that's so important for what you do?
Yeah. Basically, like I mentioned, trumpet is a very physical instrument. For me, it's developed my breathing technique when I run, establish my time. It's the same when I play in a certain time, and I don't know, everything becoming synchronized. But at the same time, it's a very nice mental break, really mental exercise when you run in certain slow speed and listen music and observing around, look at the people's faces. It's really bring you mentally next level. Smell some foods from all Singaporean,
It's
stands.
very Singapore.
It's
yeah,
a
food
nice
everywhere.
mix. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the album that you put together during this pandemic. I mean, that's a completely different recording experience, right?
Yeah, recently I recorded my last album about 1 week before I came to Singapore, and honestly I didn't know what to expect. But on the end, everything came out really interesting. Completely different from normal, but very interesting, very different. So now I'm on a stage of assembling parts together for this album and choose the right takes. And yeah, it's going to come out in a couple of months.
What's the sound like? I mean, people think an album recorded during the pandemic, it's going to be, full of gravitas. But I think you mentioned to me that it sounds exciting, right?
Sound exciting, sound really hungry. Like everybody wants to play. It was first time when, okay, should we listen back what we just record? No, let's play another take. Let's play another take. Everybody was so hungry and excited to play, live in the studio. It was quite interesting.
So did you all record from different parts of the world?
No. I'm talking about my album which I recorded in New York. Oh. That's my last recording project. This is my second recording.
So what was that like? It was just you doing everything for this one during the pandemic?
Yeah, basically I wrote the music, and sent the music to my musicians. As they learned the music, we got together in the studio and recorded. The same happened today. I sent the music to Kerong and Wayne. They did incredible preparation and small sound check, and we're good to go.
So in the first half of our interview, you talked about the influence of Michael Brecker, and you mentioned he is quite a perfectionist. He every note mattered to him. So are you a perfectionist?
I'm trying to be. I mean, like everybody else. I constantly recording myself and I hate it, but I learn how to react. Yes, I hate it, but it's normal. So do it again and again and again, and I guess it's never going to be perfect, right? But it's going to be better and better.
So what do you say to musicians who are maybe having a hard time during this pandemic? They miss the interaction with the live audience.
Well,
message of encouragement?
Everybody is different. I really encourage everybody to find some kind of source of inspiration. Do something for somebody. Get inspired from you making something for somebody. Make something good for people who are close to you or whatever. You always find some kind of inspiration which you can transfer into music, and then of course try to practice as much as you can.
And listen to yourself.
And listen to yourself. Listen a lot of music. For example, it's another huge source of inspiration. Listen, let's say Miles Davis. Don't listen bad music.
Spare yourself that pain. Yeah. And finally, maybe a lot of musicians find themselves having to live stream like we're doing tonight. And they're wondering, do you communicate differently? Do you have to do different things when you're live streaming?
I think I got used to it. It was very strange in the first place when I did my first show in New York. Live stream, no audience. It was empty tables, dark. So, but I guess I close my eyes and and I imagine people is around, and also very important when I practice by myself in the room, I make sure I, you know, take care of every note as respectful as I'm playing on the stage. So this way you have no difference. You're respecting your sound when you practice by yourself with audience, a huge audience or no audience. You kind of try to stay, you know, equally focus, you know.
I appreciate your time. It's been great getting to know you, Alex. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here.
And now more music from Alex Sipiagin.
All right.
Hey, I hope we got you moving. I hope we got some of you dancing as well. Thanks so much for joining us on Sunday Sundown Social. Coming to you live from Maduro, I'm Michelle Martin. Have a jazzy week ahead.